Hey YouTube, how are you guys today? It's Jake back with episode 3 of our FIFA 20 Starter Guide series. Where we left off on episode 1 and 2, we were finishing off the last few hours of web app and going into EA Access. My goal here is to leave you with a handful or at least 3 or 4 trading methods that you can use during web app, EA Access, and then throughout the first few months. Keep in mind that although I'm giving you these tips to start the series and start the game, you can apply them throughout the year as well. These trading opportunities will be there now, and they'll be there again in the future. So just know if you understand the concepts, you're going to be good to go all year. In the last video, we covered the footbin method and bronze pack method, but today we're going to cover position change trading and 2 different ways to approach that. If you're not familiar with position change trading, make sure to watch the video all the way through. It's going to be worth your time, so let's get into it. As you see on my screen, I'm already in the FIFA 20 web app section. Essentially, they took down the FIFA 19 web app to prepare FIFA 20 web app. So this video is going to be a little bit more tricky because I can't show you this position change trading in real time, but instead I'll show you the examples I had last year. I'll show you cards that will work well with this year, and then I'll explain the method to you, of course. So I'm actually going to hop over to my Instagram page here. It's jake.trading if you haven't been on it. And I'm going to pull up a little post I made a while back. It's really simplistic, but it does explain the method fairly well. This was taken a little bit later in the year, but I used Simona Verde for this example. He was an 81 overall, and he played right wing normally. So a lot of people were using him in a 4-3-3 for their team, but other times due to formation and due to chemistry, they needed him as a right mid. The approach that I went for position change trading with him is I would buy his gold card at 700. And he was available fairly often at this point for 700 coins. That wasn't too hard to do. Then I would buy the right wing to right mid position change. You're always going to have position changes that are cheaper than others. And where I find this best works if I'm applying those position changes myself to the card is I look for position change cards that cost 500 coins or less. It seems that it's easy to calculate profit at that point, and it's a little bit easier to trade with them as well. I'd buy Simona Verde at his natural position in a right wing for 700 coins. I would buy the right wing to right mid position change for 150 coins. So altogether there I'm paying around 850 coins, and then on the market I would sell them for 1800 or more. And yes, it worked, and yes, it's simple. The reason it works is simply due to laziness. People don't want to go through the process of buying both those cards separately, but instead they'll look for people who have converted them for them. So they'll go buy that Simona Verde as a right mid, even if they're overpaying and it gives you profit. And this works really well with cards that don't have a lot of position changes on the market. So for example, if Simona Verde had 10 cards on the market and they were all listed really low, I wouldn't probably try to join in on that. I would try to find my own card outside of him because it would be hard to make profit on him specifically. You want to be looking for cards that don't have that many position changed opportunities. Here's my second example. This is with Sebastian Giovinco. He's used a lot in FIFA. He has good links. He was in the MLS, so he's being used with Ibra a lot in FIFA 19. So with his card, I would buy him as a center forward. That's where he started, and I'd buy him at 700. He was fairly easy to get there. I would then buy the position change center forward to striker for 150. So again, around an 850 total cost there. I would apply the center forward to striker on him, change him to a striker, and then I'd list him for 1700 coins or more. And yeah, it works. It worked because there wasn't a bunch of him on the market. It worked because people might have not known that he's not naturally a striker, might have just thought that was his price. And it works because people are lazy. People don't want to go through those extra steps. They rather just simply play the game. You're using position change trading by finding a cheap position change, using it on a card from his starting position and changing him to something outside of that, and then reselling at a higher value. And I love doing this method early on. I typically get a handful of cards that are in the same position, and I'll start slowly modifying them one by one and then listing them on the market. So I remember one card I did a lot with last year, and I'll show you guys on Footbin here in just a second. You see on my screen here that I'm using Suso's card. Suso was an 83 in FIFA 19, but I'm pulling up his FIFA 20 page because it honestly doesn't make a difference. And what makes Suso unique as a card is that he's really good for SBCs due to his nationality and his league. People had much more chance of using him in SBCs sometimes when he was a right mid. So what I would do is I would buy his right wing version. I would apply a right wing to right mid position change, and I would essentially sell him at a much higher price as a right mid. Not only because he was semi-usable, even his base card, but also because he was really good for SBCs, and if that SBC had a right mid in it, people were just looking for that position instead of going to buy Suzo and changing him. They just wanted to buy it now to complete that SBC at a cheaper cost. You can definitely do this again in FIFA 20, and I'm going to show you some cards who I think might be pretty good to do it with. Saint Maximin, Gucci headband boy, I think he's going to be a fantastic card to trade with. I think he's really desirable this year. I know he's got 5-star skills, which makes him really promising for starter squads. So I think that people are going to want to buy him, and they're going to want to buy him in the position that suits their team. Because the right wing to right mid position change generally isn't too expensive, it could make him a really good card to trade with. And not only for all these cards, guys, you have to buy them in their current position, you can also trade with them when they're already position changed. So let me give you an example here. If Saint Maximin has a few right mid cards on the market, and say 5 of them are listed at 5K, this is just an example, I'm not using accurate FIFA 20 prices, say 5 right mid versions of Maximin are listed at 5K, but you see one right mid version listed at, say, 3,500, you could buy that 3,500 card and list him up for 4,500. Cards have different sell prices based off the position and chemistry style they have. A lot of people don't realize that, so you can get really good deals on players that have shadows applied, hunters applied, position changes, because they list at their standard price. They might even use this footbin site here, and they might say, oh, Maximin sells at this price, I'll list him there. But that could be a right wing version, whereas the right mid version would sell higher on the market. So you need to be sure you're checking these prices based off their position. Another example that I think would be good for FIFA 20 is actually Lozano here. Because he plays for Napoli and because he is really going to be in demand, I think he's going to be really good to trade with. And again, maybe you can buy him as a right wing here, and you can apply that position change and then list him at a higher price. But you can also simply trade with him. Again, if you see a bunch on the market at 10K, and then one pops up at 7.5, you know you can pick up that 7.5 and list closer to 9K to make a good profit. It works really well, and there are so many cards you can do it with. Here's another one here, a FIFA favorite, Ben Yedder. I know he worked really well for this method last year, so I wanted to pull him up. Because people switch Ben Yedder to center forward and camps and even central mid so much, his card's fantastic to trade with as well. Personally, for him, I wouldn't be applying those myself. It's too much cost and it's too much time. But instead, I would be looking to go trade with his specific cards that are already in that center forward position or cam position or center mid position. And while I'm trading with them, again, I would also check what chemistry styles are on the card because it might be even more valuable than you would know. Another one that I know works well is Aki Williams. Because of his links and because of what people are doing with their teams and getting creative, you see him a lot in that cam position. So when he's knocked down to a cam, that's going to be a much different cost than that striker because those position changes cost so much initially, people don't know how to gauge the prices. So keep an eye on the market at their specific positions. One more that this is a little higher end budget, but I'll kind of talk about why this one specifically would work well. And this one's Bernardo Silva because, again, he's not only a great card, and he's better on FIFA in FIFA 20 than he was in 19, but in FIFA 19 you could change him because people were also looking to complete SBCs with him as a right mid. So it gave him that double chance of selling just for usability in teams and for those SBC fodders. One more that I'll point out here that I think will do really well in FIFA 20 due to his card being pretty low in stats is Fred. And you see Fred here, what makes him really unique is he's a non-rare. Sometimes, and a lot of the time, non-rares are actually more rare on the market than rares, which sounds funny based off their titles, but that's how it works. So Fred, he might have less cards on the market than someone like Ndidi in a switched position. And for him, again, you can change Fred to a cam, you can move him to a CDM, you can move him to a center forward for some reason if that fits your squad. But I think he's going to be fantastic to trade with this year when he's out of position. This is another one where I personally wouldn't look to apply those position changes myself, but instead I would look to trade with him in each of those separate positions, whether it's CDM or cam. And it's going to work again really well this year. It's a really simple method, but you can apply it all year. You can apply it to informs who have changed positions. You can apply it to inform Hulk or inform Talisca we saw early on in FIFA 19, and I promise you guys it will work. These are just a few of my favorite methods early on. There are so many more I can cover, and I'm going to try to put out guides on my social medias. They're linked below for some other methods as well. But we've at least covered the footbin method, bronze pack method, and position change trading. So hopefully it gives you guys a few tools heading into web app, EA access, and that whole first few months where these low budget opportunities work really well. I have one more video planned for this series, which is simply going to be how to spend those 10 hours of EA access if you have it. So make sure you tune into episode 4 if you'd like to see that. Let me know down below if you've used this method before and if you've had success and which cards you've used it on. I appreciate you guys tuning in today. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe below and we'll talk soon. Peace.